my goodness. Well, we almost didn't get through that because I started to lose dulcimer, but that's okay because we got through it all right. Hello everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is Bing Futch. Thank you very much for joining me for another look at playing with the looper pedal. That was an amazing piece of music written in the early 70s by Robert Forrest. It was called Wellyn, and it was made as a two-part dulcimer invention, and that was of course played originally by Robert Forrest and the late Albert Daché. This is an amazing piece of music, but it takes two people to make it all happen. Or it simply takes a looper pedal and a little bit of a driving rock beat behind it, and you can go ahead and hear the amazing things that are happening. Now, the most part of it, it's a riff shared by two dulcimers. That's the A part. The B part involves, again, two dulcimers doing this. And then the C part has the dulcimers branching off in different directions to create these amazing color chords. One part goes, while the other part goes, it's a really amazing piece of music, and even if people didn't know anything about the mountain dulcimer, you would walk away from that going, man, what a cool tune. Well, when I first met Robert, when I got on the mountain dulcimer scene, I had the opportunity to play with him that tune on stage, and it was great. But once I got back home again, I thought, I want to hear it that way again, but what the heck am I going to do? I can't do it by myself. That's where the looper pedal comes in. Play one part, then come back in and play the second part, and it sounds really fun. So I wanted to demonstrate that as a real good example of how you can use the looper pedal to help you work on pieces that require more than one player, ensemble pieces and duets and things like that. It's really a lot of fun when you get into it. So this is going to be an intermediate study on also other things that we can do with the looper pedal, including writing your own stuff and performing on stage. Now, I'm using the Boss RC30 loop station. I've been using the RC30 for a very long time, and there are other loop stations out there that I'm sure will be perfect for you, or another looper entirely. This series of workshops isn't about any particular looper, it's really about looping in general. But I will be using the RC30 as an example, so some things may not be available on the looper you've got, but this is an old looper, and I would think that many of the ones being put together these days, if you buy a new one, will have many of these same features, and more so. And this thing's got so many features, I don't use all of them, but I do use quite a few of them. All right. The one thing I want to mention here is when you are setting your loop, you have some options on what's going to happen first off. For example, with this one, you'll notice that when I played through the entire piece with the one dulcimer part, all I had to do was hit that thing once. It set the length of the loop, and it immediately began recording, so I could jump right in. That is something that you're going to want to do if you're doing a very tightly stacked piece. Say you're playing, and I mean, it's very unusual to do an entire song like that and then loop it over again. I do this for some tunes, like Sweet River. I play the entire piece of Sweet River on the mountain dulcimer, and then I come back and play the flute over the top of it. But I only intend to do that a couple of times, and then that's it. For most looping situations, especially when you're performing, the ideal thing here is to set a smaller loop, which, when it loops over and over again, will pad itself out to become, the length of the song itself. So one of the secrets to getting this fluidity is to make sure that you've got your looper pedals set to begin recording as soon as you set the loop. That means you can come right in and start adding things right away. The other thing is you may not want to record things right away. If the first thing you're laying down is part of the basic structure of the tune, I'd say leave it so that the loop begins recording as soon as you set the length. But if you want to, and there's a string that just broke for no reason whatsoever, just decided to break. So let's say, for example, that you want to solo for a little bit over what you've done, basically. That's where you want to have this thing set to where when you set the length of the loop, it automatically goes to playback as opposed to cutting right into recording immediately. That way you've set your foundation, you can go ahead and get in there and solo, and then if you want to add more stuff, you just click it again, the pedal, and then that will turn it onto the recording mode. I prefer to have it where it records immediately because I tend to lay down several tracks to build my foundation, and then I'm ready to do soloing or singing or things like that. Let me give you an example. And you know, if you don't want to record right away, you can always turn it off by just kicking the pedal on. Let me give you an example of what I'm doing here. This from shining too much. There we go. Now see, it's on record, but I can just turn it off. So you can have it set however you want, basically. And then you can just start. So what I've got there is, you know, a piece of music, if you hadn't guessed it already, kinda. It's With or Without You by U2. And this is really, really ideal. I was able to get the bass foundation very, very quickly and then start building off of it. Because With or Without You is a tune that basically has 4 chords in it. And those 4 chords repeat all through the verse and all through the chorus and the solos, which means all you need to do is lay down those measures with those chords, and then you can build upon that, build up, tear down, as much as you want to. So ideally, you want to look for a piece of music that does that, so you don't have to play the entire song. Another thing that I started doing a while back, it's fairly easy to do this with a guitar, you know, and have that lower E string so you could play bass parts. With a mountain dulcimer, our bass string isn't the heaviest thing in the world. So I've been using bass pedals so I can really get that bass sound happen. From this to this. Now you're not going to hear it really, really well in this case because I've got the bass turned down on this guitar amp, and the guitar amp is better at amplifying mid-range and treble tunes and not so much the bass stuff. Let me turn the bass up just a little bit, and I've got an octave pedal down here and I'm using that for the bass. There you can kind of hear the bass sound a bit better. Of course, if I really wanted to go full on bass, I'd just go over here to the bass side on my lovely new Folkcraft Instruments double dulcimer. His name is Tim, and I actually have a full-on bass side over here, which doesn't need the bass pedal at all to be nice and meaty, and that sounds great. So in this case, what I would do is, let me go ahead and erase that. I'd come in with my bass part here, and then switch over here to do everything else that I want to. Let me go ahead and get my tempo going. I'm going to set my loop and start off with just the bass part for these 4 chords. Now that's all good to go. It's ready to fun. Let me do some more here. Now I'll turn off so I can solo. Okay, now I'm going to kick that off here a little bit and I'll show you another idea. So finding these songs that are short, repeated phrases, it's easier to just launch that in, get in quickly, and then do all your building across the tune, whether you're going to sing it, play it, and add other layers to it. One of the things I like to do with this tune in particular is get that feeling of the edge coming in every now and again with that chimey guitar thing. So one of the things you can do, and one of the things I like to do with my pedal board, is I've got just really, it looks crazy down there, but it's a lot of what I call primary colors. Very, very basic stuff. I've got my octave pedal, I've got a distortion pedal, I've got a delay pedal, my looper, of course. I have an EQ pedal. That's a 7-channel, 7-band EQ. And I have a freeze pedal, which allows me to freeze chords and play over the top of those for other things. So, you know, it's nothing fancy. There's not a whole bunch of craziness going on here, but these are essential things. And my delay pedal, I crank that on here. And actually what I need to do is come around the front and pull this in. That gives me my tempo. And I can tap that delay. So let me go ahead and start the music up again. And what you're going to see me doing down here is I'm going to be tapping on this FS5U pedal. It's going to actually set the tempo of the delay. Granted, if I have the right delay, we're about to find out. So let me go ahead and start this again. I'm going to get that delay going, and what I'm looking for is this. You can actually hear it starting already. And I think I'm going to want a little more feedback on here. That's good. All right. I'll go ahead and get my tempo going again, and then I'll match the tempo to the delay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in, because, you know, it comes in basically over the chorus and over some of the soloing. I'm going to bring it in, but then I'm going to take it back out when I want the dynamics to dip down low again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this rolling here. Now watch this. So if I'm singing and stuff, I can get rid of it, and you don't hear it stop nearly as dramatically as all that. And then I can take it right back out again. One of the nice things about making your own arrangement, you can just sort of bring in something and then take it out and get something that's dynamic. You're not stuck with whatever it is you've actually recorded on the loop. At least with the RC30, there's one thing you have to be aware of. When the red light is on and you're layering, say you're layering over and over and over again, from whenever you kick that recording light on, everything you're recording right then is susceptible to being either removed, undo, or being brought back, redo. As long as you're in that recording mode, it'll work. But as soon as you take it out of recording mode, go into play mode, and then start recording again. Once you hit recording again, everything you've done before then is now cast in concrete, and you cannot undo that. So be very, very careful when you're setting your loops and adding elements. If you want to undo the element, don't undo record until you're not going to use that element again. That's for the RC30. There are other loopers that maybe that doesn't function in that same exact way, but if you're looking to get into the RC30, and it's a great pedal actually. I do recommend that you think about that though, and audition other pedals and see how you can be dynamic. Some of them that I see nowadays have got the little squares on them where you can kind of assign loops to certain areas. Of course, that's largely for people who are going to be using their hands to select these things, and we're using our feet, so it's a little bit different. But I think I've seen a couple of loopers where you can actually, just with your feet, say, this thing here, this little loop, I want to bring it in. And now I want to put it away and bring it back later. And now my drum parts, I want to have them drop out, and now I want to drop them back in, and so it might take some looking around to find it. But once you start looping and doing it for a performance, now you are the maestro. You are conducting, you're bringing things in, you're taking things out, you're adding elements. You can even add your voice to this and layer in vocal harmonies. It's really a fun little thing to get into. The whole looping mechanism is just great. But there are a few rules to understand, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And thankfully, loopers have been loaded with quantizing gear. And quantizing means basically if your timing of hitting and closing that loop and setting the length of that loop, if your timing's a little bit off, it'll quantize, it'll round out what you meant to do basically and bring you right back in on the downbeat. Old loopers back in the day, if you didn't come down on beat 1, say you hit that ending of the loop and you set it to be 4 3/4 of a measure, that was your loop. It was lopsided and there was nothing you could do about it. Nowadays, the computers are getting pretty smart and they can fix our mistakes on the fly, thank goodness. That's a little bit at looking at playing with the looper pedal for performance sake, using ideas to bring in dynamism for our performances, because we're not always completely locked in. We just have to understand our gear and what it's going to take in order for us to extract that performance. So I'm going to come back next week with an advanced level look. In fact, I'm going to walk you through how to play one of my more well-known pieces, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. Until then, have fun out there, everybody, and we will see you soon.